Good morning, everyone. Today's project I have been kind of waiting to do for a while, and it should turn out pretty good. I think some of you might be happy, some of you might be sad, but it is what it is. That's what we got to do. Not today's project, but the upcoming project is the barn here. The first thing is an overhead door that I'm going to put in the front here in place of these sliding doors and extend it over. And we've got to make studs so we can roll up the insulation. We're going to put OSB over that. We've got a garage door and an opener to put up, a 2-post lift. There's lots of stuff to do in the barn, but I want to knock this out quick before I start on the barn because it's time. I'm ready for it to be done. Also, I'm not sure if I have a video before this one, but after my wedding, but I am now married. Jade, my wife, is now all moved in. We're kind of settling down in the house, and now it's time for me to get the barn done so I can work out of my barn instead of my dad's barn. But today's project is I'm going to pull the Wutang wrap off of this thing. So if you do not know, underneath this car is this color, which is like I think it's called dark metallic gray. It's like a dark gray gunmetal-ish color. And the yellow is a wrap, and then the Wutang decals are decals over the wrap. I don't like Wutang myself. I don't listen to Wutang. It doesn't mean anything to me. It does get a lot of attention driving around, but the Wu-Tang is not me at all. And I'm kind of curious to see what this thing looks like all yellow. And so today I'm going to pull off the Wu-Tang decals and see what it looks like. Ready for the big reveal. The car's absolutely filthy. I also have a couple things I'm going to swap on this thing. So I don't like the silver, and this is all beat up. I don't like the silver on the steering wheel or the silver that goes all the way across the dash. And so I've got this steering wheel, which has black buttons and the airbag, but I'm not going to use this wheel. I'm going to use this wheel. This is a Faction Fab wheel that I've had sitting around for a while. I'm going to put that on here. Like I said, we're replacing this. Then we've also got door cards with the matching black trim. Everything's just a lot nicer. We've got the black trim piece right there that goes across the dash. So I'm going to knock that stuff out. It's just going to be jump clips. I'll be a little more detailed when it comes to the steering wheel. But I'm excited to see if I like that steering wheel. These door cards are really easy to pop off. So let's get to it. Like I said, pretty easy to take these off. You really only need 3 tools. Flathead screwdriver, a Phillips, and a little pry tool. So the pry tool will take out that screw there, and then there's one down in the cup holder here. There's a little cover that you gotta pop open. That screw, and then this screw. Then we're gonna kind of pull back and pop that up a little bit, and pry that out like that. There's a electrical connector in here. That one off. And we've got one screw here and one screw here. Take those out. Then my piece is missing right here, but there should be a little plastic piece. You have to take that out to get the door card off. Don't lose your screws. Either stick your pry tool up between the door and the door card, or there's a ledge over on this side. You can just pull, lift up. And then on the back side here, there's these little cables that you just gotta pop out just like so, and the door card comes off. These are the cables. They just clip in there, so you unclip this part, and then the ball or the little hook piece on this, they just lift out of the panel here. So that ball sits in right there, and the clip sits right there, and then the clip sits there, and the hook slips or sits in that one. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. But now let's grab our right rear door card. Let's compare these, show you what's different. So I think they're exactly the same, except this piece and this piece are black instead of the silver. And then instead of this gray suede or whatever it is, we've got this black leather just to kind of match better. And I just figured it'd be easier just to swap the whole door card. So let's now hit the jump clips and get the rest of these knocked out. So now we've just got the backwards process. We got to put these things back in here. One is for the door lock, and one is for the door handle. So let's make sure they're in there, make sure the plastic pieces are clipped back on. Make sure you've got your electrical connector not hidden down in there. These set back on here. There we go. And then you just give it a good push. Make sure the connectors are somewhat lined up. Oops, busted one there. Don't matter too much. And we've got 2 screws right here. We've got one up in here, and then plug your connector in front first. Pop that in there. Don't forget the one Phillips in here, and that easy. One door card done. All right, this one next. There we go. Same thing. I think you got to remove this. Don't break it. New one in. Don't lose your electrical connectors down there. Last door card, and then probably the trim, and then we'll do the steering wheel last. This is only taking me like 30 minutes, and I think it completely changes how the car looks. All right, these trim pieces, also pretty simple. Take this corner piece off. Right at the bottom here, you can start getting it off. And we've got a screw there, and then that pops out. All right, you do have to pop this off, which is pretty easy though. All right, so give this a tug. There we go. We should be able to sneak this guy out of here. Maybe a little pry action. There we go. That guy comes out. New guy goes in, just like that. Don't forget your little screw. You also need this off to do this side. While this was off, I also popped this out a little bit, and that will let me pop this out. Oopsie, didn't mean to honk the horn. I will pop this out, just like that. Probably have to take the radio trim out. So yep, radio trim out, and then this pops out. I'm gonna open the door on that side, but it's a little deceiving. Be careful not to break it, but you gotta sometimes pull harder than you think. See, it all comes out like that, and there's probably a screw on that side. Same corner piece here, pop that out, one screw. When this guy comes out, you do have to unplug your HVAC controls in the center here. And then this whole trim piece comes out. And I even get a nicer hazard button and black controls, I'll show you. So we've got black controls, we've got almost like a, I don't know, it's like almost a darker red button, and then obviously the all black or kind of dark gray. It's gonna look a lot better. Let's pop it in there. Oh, don't forget to plug in your HVAC controls. I almost forgot. Make sure everything's clipped in nice. Don't forget your little screw here. Pop that guy back in. Make sure everything's pushed in nice. Push that back in. Push this back in. Oh, just a little customization. It had these. I'm going to do this airbag and buttons with this steering wheel next, but we've got some friends over for dinner, so I will do that probably tomorrow. So I'll see you then. I'm gonna pull the Wutang wrap off of this thing. On the other side, this 36 is already pulled off. The previous owner pulled that off before I bought it. He was gonna pull the whole wrap off, and I told him to leave it just because I did want it for a little bit. But it seems like it's gonna peel off pretty easy. I started peeling a little bit right here. I'm hoping it does. So I'm gonna start with this decal on the door. This thing needs a bath super bad. It is filthy. But I'm leaving the wrap on the hood. I'm leaving the Wubaru plate in the front. I'm leaving those things wrapped black. My buddy also did tint the windows last night, so it looks much better. I really kind of want to get some windshield tint. This part's gonna be a little tricky down here with the side skirt extension. Maybe this part around the taillights. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to pull the taillights or not. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna get into it because I do have to start on the barn. But let's try and get these decals off. I'll set up a time lapse or jump clips, and I'll see you guys during, in between, and after those. But let's see what this thing looks like all yellow. Starting with this door, I believe this 36 refers to, I think, an album they had called 36 Chambers. I'm hoping I can pull this off and wash the car and not see the decals too bad. We'll see. I really don't want to take the yellow off, especially right now, but we could leave it for a while if we need to. Like I said, I'm sure some of you might be a little upset. Some of you really liked the Wutang, but I would imagine the majority of the population is going to think it's a good idea to remove this. I'm really excited to see what it looks like all yellow. It stands out. I might have to wash it today. Oh my gosh, this thing's so dirty. Yeah, we're going to have to take it for a bath for sure. But I'm hoping the rest of this comes off that easy. I'm not too sure. Maybe I should start with the letters. I'm not exactly sure. We'll give it a whirl. If these start coming off pretty easy, I'll probably just set up a time lapse, get everything pulled off, and then we'll take a peek and see how it looks. I do want to be careful not to pull the yellow off. Like I said, I want the yellow on here for now. So I'm going to do my best not to damage the yellow. Alright, everything seems to be coming off pretty easy. Maybe I'll set up the camera again for these big ones, but I'll just time lapse the rest of it. All the letters came off pretty easily. I'm kind of surprised it didn't leave any residue and that they just peeled off that simply. So far it's been pretty easy removing it. I'm not sure if I want to remove the decal yet or if I want to remove this lettering first. It's going to look a lot different for sure, but I'm excited to see what it looks like. The yellow has grown on me immensely. Not sure if it's my favorite still, obviously, but you know, let's just pull the decal off this side and see what it looks like. I'll try not to show too much so we can take a look afterwards once it's all off. I'm trying to find a good instrumental song that I can use to do over these time lapses because I feel like voicing over them, especially if they're long ones, are kind of weird. So if you have any song suggestions, comment them below. I'll find one soon. It's just a learning process for me. Ready for the big reveal. The car's absolutely filthy. I actually like how it looks, especially from the rear, obviously, because that made a big difference. I want to get it cleaned up and see how it looks, but I think it looks pretty sweet. I don't mind the yellow at all. Look, it matches the school bus coming down the road. So I don't think just going to the car wash quick is going to do anything, because it doesn't really take anything off. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little bit of work to get it to the point where it looks somewhat normal. The guy pulled the 36 off this door, and you can see it a little bit, but it's definitely a lot better than the rest. So I know the car is just really dirty. Might have to put some work into it. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to get this wrap off. I drive around and people are like, yeah, sweet car, dude. And I'm like, they say something about Wutang, and I'm like, hey, sorry, I don't get it. I'm glad it's off. The little honeycomb tint on the taillights is staying. This is going to stay. The honeycomb wrap up here, the honeycomb wrap on the hood is also going to stay. Yeah, eventually I'm going to end up swapping out the boots there as well. Again, just not my thing. All right, we've got what's going to be our last piece to the interior puzzle, and that is Faction Fab carbon fiber D-shaped or flat bottom steering wheel, whatever you want to call it. And we're not just going to put the silver buttons and badge back on. We're going to put the black ones, these ones right here. So I'll get a little close up because it can be hard to tell from far away. Black buttons and trim and a black piece right there. So we'll install this stuff onto this steering wheel and put the steering wheel on here, and we should be good to go. Kind of do a comparison before and after of how it looked. We already got the black trim in yesterday, so let's get this done. First thing I would do is unplug your battery so when you disconnect this, you don't have any sort of weird issues. Not that necessarily something would happen, but rather be safe than sorry. Battery is unplugged. Also make sure your steering wheel is nice and straight when you park, so that when you take it off, you're not all confused and messed up. So once you crack the Torx loose, keep threading it out, and I apply a little pressure outwards like this on the steering wheel. You'll see it pop out all the way right there. Sometimes if you don't, you gotta put the Torx back in there, and it can be tough to get the Torx on there sometimes. All right, airbag comes off. There's this little ground wire. You gotta pull that off, and then we've got two airbag plugs here. You can take a small screwdriver or a little knife. You pry up this yellow part like that, and then pry up the plugs here, and then your airbag comes out. And we've got a 17 millimeter right here. Again, do your best to keep your steering wheel straight. 17 comes loose. Don't lose that nut. And sometimes these can be a little tough to get off. This one is coming right off. There also is a white plug in here that we're going to unplug from the clock spring, just like that. Guide these wires out. Do not spin this around. Leave it right there. Don't mess with it. You're going to mess something up. Don't do that. Let's just see how this is going to look. Oh, yeah. That's going to look nice. Going to look nice. Now we've got to transfer a bunch of stuff, so I'll take a peek at that, and we'll get going. First thing is going to be this back. First thing is going to be this backing plate. There's 2 screws, one right there, and then some push tab clips right there. And don't just rip it off because the wiring is kind of clipped into it. So unclip the wiring. There's the backing plate, and we will need that for this right here. And then I'm not using these buttons because I'm using the black trim pieces. So we're going to set this aside and grab our other steering wheel. Ooh, hit myself in the nuts. Ouch. Here's our black airbag. We're going to need that. We've got to remove this backing plate to get to these buttons here. This one has a couple more screws because it's got this cell phone thing, but this car doesn't have that, so I'm not going to use this backing plate. Now the screws are behind the backing plate right here for the buttons on the front. Remove those. All right, so we take our new steering wheel, buttons, go in, screws for the buttons. All right, the buttons are attached. Now we're going to take our backing plate that doesn't have the buttons on the side, pop this into place, clip our wires back in. Now put our screws back in. And it looks like this steering wheel has kind of 4 spots for screws, so I'm going to put all the screws back in. All right, that stuff's in there. Now we're going to feed our airbag stuff back in. Like I said, make sure you don't spin this connector around. It can move. You don't want to spin it 180 and then put the wheel on, or 360 I should say. All right, make sure to plug that back in. This is an extra one because we kind of have a little bit different buttons here, but that will be completely fine. Now our airbag, don't forget our little ground wire, our airbag connections, and on there just like that. This thing looks nice. Ooh, I just did what I said not to do. Do not forget this nut. Oh my gosh, don't do that, kids. So put this nut on, snug her up real good. This wheel feels really nice. All right, now the airbag can go on. We need our Torx again. Heck yeah. Let me plug the battery back in, or hook the battery back up. I am gonna take this for a little drive. Make sure the steering wheel's straight, make sure the cruise works. The buttons for the radio didn't work before, so I'm not concerned about those. I'll set the camera up so you can see me driving. We'll take a drive, see how it is after this. I pulled it off. All right, definitely better now. It's still, the factory one was a little crooked, so from the alignment, it had been a little bit off. So I need to probably go back and ask them to straighten it. I think this wheel looks awesome, along with the black trim. I would love to have this black also. I'd like to get rid of this yellow and these Wutang shift boots. I'm sure I could sell those. This black trim, the new door cards, the new black trim back here. Overall looks a lot better. Here's the airbags next to each other. This is like a, I'd almost say either black or like a dark metallic gray. There's the silver. I like the dark a lot better. But there we have it. Our little interior project's done. Our exterior project is most of the way done. I'm not going to show the rest today because I need to get working on the barn. But I took a little bit of denatured alcohol. You can sort of still see up here where it ended. But I'm going to try and do that to the rest of it once I wash it and see if I can get that decal to go all the way away. It'd be really nice if I wouldn't have to see that anymore. And if it was brighter yellow like this right here rather than that. But yeah, I'm happy with how it looks. We got to get this thing cleaned up. I needed to knock out these few little simple projects before I get working on the barn again. So if you watch this and you enjoy this and you want to help support me, If you could like the video, subscribe, that would help me out a ton. I hope you guys are getting your projects done, and I'll see you in the next video.